All right, welcome back. So today I want to make another one of those videos where instead of actually replying to one of your guys' comments or, patterns that I see when it comes to some of your guys' comments or people who I'm coaching, I'm seeing patterns with, I instead make a video where I talk to my old self because some of my best videos is me giving advice to my old self because my old self didn't really understand manifestation. This can be one of those videos. And again, I do see this every now and then, but with you guys, but overall, this is another one of those videos where I'm just talking to my old self, trying to give my old self advice on how to manifest or what thoughts to think and how certain things work. So let's get into that. In today's video, we're going to talk about the law didn't work for me. We're going to talk to those people. The law didn't work for me. As well as the people who say things like, I'm giving up on manifestation. I'm giving up on the law of assumption. Spoiler alert, you can't do that, by the way. A little bit of spoiler alert there. So we're going to talk to those people today. And again, we're primarily talking to my old self. But I'm sure some of you guys are going to enjoy this advice as well. But yeah, before we get into the video, if you do want to have possible coaching with me in this group chat, it is the bottom link in the description at school.com. I'm very active in there, so I can really understand your circumstances and I can possibly give you advice and I can really change your life maybe when it comes to the law of assumption. If you do just want to ask me direct questions. So it is the bottom link in the description. You can buy the monthly pack. You can also buy the annual pack, whichever one suits you best. But yeah. Anyways, let's get into the video. So let's talk about the people who say things like the law didn't work for me. And again, I was there. I was in this camp as well. The law didn't work for me. And I'm going to give up my manifestation and all this stuff. And I can understand that because again, in these more, Western atheistic societies, there is a little bit of an element where some of this manifestation, law of assumption stuff does sound a little fantasy and voodoo and corny and false and scammy as well, because there's a lot of scamminess that happens in the law of attraction community, especially. So I can kind of understand people's perspective on this because again, if you do come from these atheistic societies, there's like a gravitational pull when it comes to returning to this more secular five senses scientific lens. So I do understand these people and I do understand myself. I don't really judge myself for not believing this for the first few months. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the people who say the law didn't work for me. Well, my advice to those people would be is that the law is always working for you. Like you can't stop. The law is always working for you. But the reason why you say the law didn't work for me is because you tried to manifest something probably so outside of your belief system to the point where you're wavering the entire time and you just pretend that you're not wavering when naturally you're wavering and probably deep down you just kind of want to prove that this is not true. So like I always say, when it comes to manifestation, if you do want the law to work for you, maybe prove this to yourself a little bit. Because again, even I come from this like more secular societies where when people tell me to, believe in this religion or that religion, I'm like, well, no, because I need the five senses to prove it to me first. If I can't see these spiritual acts, I'm not going to really believe it in a book, which I kind of still hold that opinion to a degree. But when it comes to manifestation, I highly recommend instead of listening to me, instead of believing me or believing Neville or Sammy Ingram or any of these manifestation law of assumption people, what you should do rather is you should manifest something small. Prove the law to yourself and build trust in the law and fill that meter of trust in the law and then move on to the big things. You shouldn't manifest something that is already so impossible for you like $1 billion or even $1 million if you already your entire life have bad financial situations and you have always been in a state of envy when it comes to millionaires and money? You shouldn't jump the gun and say, I'm just going to start here. No, you should start there. You should start manifesting something small. And I gave tips in the past on how to manifest something small. So when it comes to manifesting something small, all that really matters is that you do it specifically. Because when you receive the manifestation and it's specific enough to the point where you know that this would not happen if it wasn't for you doing it intentionally, that is when you proved it to yourself. So manifest a purple tennis ball. Purple tennis balls just don't randomly show up unless you're like a tennis player or something. You can manifest your friend also dyeing their hair. You can manifest someone's political opinion changing. If your friend is more conservative, you can imagine them being a more liberal socialist. You can imagine them being a Leninist if you want to. If your friend is more liberal and atheistic, then you can manifest them being more, conservative if you want to. I don't know. You do you. I personally would manifest them being a social democrat because that's where I am. You should if you have a friend who is a Zionist, maybe manifest them out of that genocidal claim in defense of that. You can use this for the good as well. But either way, what you should do is you should manifest something small. Because if you manifest something small and also specific, you will build trust in yourself. So start there. And before you say most people don't start there, well, that's not true, because I myself did not believe in manifestation until I did the ladder experiment, which Neville Goddard did. He made people do the ladder experiment so they proved it to themselves. That's how Neville would teach people how to manifest. That's how Neville would prove to people that their imagination creates their reality. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm gonna make you guys manifest $1 billion and 1 million views on whatever." I don't think they had podcasts back then, but maybe a radio station back then or something. You know what I mean? He didn't start there. He made people do the ladder experiment, and the people who did the ladder experiment, he told them afterwards, the way you manifested the ladder, you could have easily manifested $1 million in cash, which again is in that video from the old guy on YouTube. Literally, he says that in the video. So manifest something small. You don't have to jump the gun and manifest something that is so outside of your expectations, or if you don't have enough belief in yourself, or you don't believe in the power inside of you, you don't have to start at the end. You don't have to start with your biggest desire and your life-changing desire. Start with something small. Again, I personally do recommend the ladder experiment because I do think that's the one that worked for me anyways. But you can also do a purple tennis ball. I think purple tennis balls are also pretty good because they're pretty specific. You're not going to see purple tennis balls all the time. There are some other experiments where people say, well, I manifested seeing yellow Lamborghinis everywhere. It's like, well, that's cool, but personally, I don't know. I don't, that wouldn't be enough for me personally, just because I think a confirmation bias might come in the way. But if that works for you, that works for you. No judgment. So yeah, that's my first advice. If you're someone who's saying that they don't believe in the law, or the law doesn't work for them, I highly recommend you manifest something small and prove the law to yourself, really. So yeah. And the other side of this coin is the other people who say, oh, not only did the law work for me, but I'm giving up on the law of assumption. I tried doing the law of assumption for 3 months and nothing has worked. It's like, number one, you're probably wavering non-goddamn stop, because again, that's what you're not supposed to waver, and you probably waver like 99% of the time. But when it comes to those people, you people need to understand that there is no shutting off the law. Too many of you, including me, we came from the law of attraction world, where we believed that this is something new and we were trying to do something, and we were essentially using a tool that we picked up. That is some BS law of attraction BS. What reality actually is that you never stop manifesting. You never stop using the law of assumption. You can't stop. You manifested everything in your life with your dominant assumptions. If you're spiritually unawake, well, those dominant assumptions either come from your childhood or the collective consciousness that you absorbed. And because we live in this post-Darwinist society, we tend to pretend that we're not special and we're just like worthless animals. No offense to the vegans out there. But no, we're pretty special. We are really special, and we can't stop manifesting. You manifest everything in your life. You manifested everything in your life perfectly. The only difference between me and you right now is that I am teaching you to manifest consciously. You've been manifesting everything unconsciously. Now it's time for you to manifest consciously. That's it. That's the only difference. This time you are looking in the direction that you want to, where your desire will come from. That's where you want to be. You can't stop manifesting. There's no stop manifest. There's no stop sign when it comes to manifesting. You'll just be manifesting unconsciously. You're just going to be spiritually asleep. That's basically it. You know, when Jesus says, I and the Father are one, again, I means material world, Father means imagination. He never said, I and the Father are one after I realized that I and the Father are one. No, he just said, I and the Father are one, period. Jesus says that you are a reflection of your imagination the entire life, your entire life, assuming after you get consciousness, of course, whatever that is, whatever month that was, whatever year that was, but you are always one with the Father. You are identical to your imagination. You didn't just start becoming one with the imagination when you realized this. You have always been your imagination. Wherever you are in your imagination, that is what will be externalized into your reality. So you can't stop it. There is no stopping the law. There is no giving up on the law. You know, if you say, "Oh, I don't believe in gravity," you're not gonna just start floating. You know, if Isaac Newton didn't have that apple drop on his head, and he didn't create gravity, he discovered it. If Isaac Newton didn't do that, people wouldn't be able to just start flying around. We wouldn't just be floating. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't believe it." No, it's there. It is literally there. And there are probably other laws as well that we just don't know about. Maybe things with water and how the body works. I imagine those are things that even the law of assumption can't change gravity. The law of assumption can't really change gravity either. You can't change this stuff. You know what I mean? If you want to say, "Oh, I don't believe that I'm on Earth," it doesn't really matter what you believe, dumbass. Like, you're on Earth. You are on Earth. You're here. It doesn't matter if you believe you're on Earth. It doesn't matter if you don't believe you're on Earth. You are on Earth. You know, it's kind of like that Woe-Vicky woman. You guys remember Woe-Vicky from like 10 years ago? She was like this white girl who thought that she was black. It's like, no, you're white. It doesn't matter if you believe that you're black. You're white. You know, you can't really change that unless you're like Michael Jackson. He proved me wrong on that. Actually, yeah, Michael Jackson proved me wrong on that one. Bad example. Michael Jackson got me there. Goddamn asshole. Either way, you guys know my point. You can't stop the law. There is no stopping the law. You are always manifesting. What I teach is that you manifest consciously and you manifest in a positive direction. That is all. So yeah, the summary of today's video is 2 things. Manifest something small so you prove to yourself that this is true and this is real. Start there. And also understand that you cannot stop manifesting. You cannot stop using the law of assumption. It is on autopilot 24/7. So all you're doing is giving up using it consciously, and you're going to fall back into the old circumstances, and you're probably going to live a pretty bad life because, or else you wouldn't be asking for self-help. You wouldn't be looking for self-help videos on YouTube about the law of assumption. So you're not really doing anything. I feel pretty bad for these people. But yeah, anyways, thought I'd make a video on that. Thought I'd talk to my old self just a little bit here. because I do want to, I think those are some of the best in-depth videos, because I can kind of just speak to myself rather than speak to you guys. I can be a bit more rude in these videos because I'm speaking to my old self and not some of you guys in your circumstances. But anyways, if you do want to have coaching with me or possibly direct access to me, it is the bottom link in the description below. You can buy the monthly pack or you can buy the annual pack. But it is at school.com. It is the bottom link in the description at school.com. School with a K. Yeah. Anyways, that's for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah. Bye.